Welcome, ladies, to the Lean in 12 live launch party. Woo! I don't know about you, but I'm excited. And I just want to thank you all for joining me today on this holiday weekend, Mother's Day tomorrow. So, to all my moms, women in general, happy Mother's Day in advance. Hope you do something special for yourself. Don't wait on anyone else, do it for yourself. And so today I'm so excited that you're all with me. I know weekends get busy to celebrate really this huge milestone for I Kick Sugar, for healthy education. So I just want us to have some fun today. I am going to share with you my story, what inspired me to write this. And then we're going to have a surprise guest who I'm going to pull up. And we're going to also then have Q&A time. So if any of you have any questions, we can call you up at the end, or you're welcome also throughout right now to go ahead and type your question in the chat box. Melissa's going to be monitoring it because she's a badass and she can do that and let people in and keep track of everything. So she will then come up at the end and read any questions that any of you have submitted throughout the party today. And then last but not least, we are going to give away some door prizes for being here today. Some free swag gift cards to our IKS merch shop. I've got two $50 gift cards to randomly give away, along with a $100 gift card today. So you guys can do some shopping. Woo! All right, who is ready to party? Lean in 12, lean in 12. Yay, I love the excitement. Thank you, ladies. Yes, we are raising up the roof today. Yes, I love it. Okay. All right, let's get started. And let me start actually by saying this journey for me has really been a labor of love. I honestly have any idea how many hours I have spent researching, writing, designing, just creating this book. 170 pages. Woo! That's a lot for me. I don't think I've written that many pages at one time between high school and college. So that was a lot. I didn't go for my master's, so I didn't have a thesis. So it was a lot, countless hours. But every single one of them was worth it. And it was worth it because of the positive feedback that I've gotten from so many of you. So first, I just want to start by saying thank you. You really don't have any idea. Oh, I'm going to try not to get emotional. How much your words, your comments, oh my goodness, where's this coming from? Your insights, ahas that you guys have on your health, your revelations, the reviews, they just mean so much to me. I mean, it is truly what keeps me going and pouring my heart into you is when I get that feedback, because it's not the money. Otherwise, it'd be long gone. So thank you all, who have taken the time out to share all of that with me. Again, it really means so much. Now, I really want to share with all of you what inspired me to write this. And there were really three defining seeds. I like to call them seeds, that were planted to create this book. That accumulated over time, right? That's what I always say about any of this, our health journeys. It's these seeds along the way that sprout and grow. That finally made me say, okay, Joyce, it's time. You need to sit down, write, and create this. And to be real, with you, I wasn't sure even what to call it at first. Is it a program? Is it a guide? Is it a book? Is it a content Bible on metabolic health? And honestly, it's all of the above. So whatever we call it, Lean in 12, I believe, and from what I'm hearing from you ladies, it's a powerful body of information designed to help anyone who's ready to just dive deeper into achieving optimal health and to learn how to actually do it. There's no start here. It's not like the master class or the IKS course where you're starting and then you graduate there. This isn't a quick fix, and I hope this journey that you take on Lean in 12, that it will be forever. This is about leaning into that truth that I just said, forever. It's about embracing that idea that health is a journey. It is not a destination. So, what finally made me sit down to write this thing? Well, the first big trigger seed, and it was a big seed, had to do with our 90-day challenge. If you've been with me for a while, then you know that when I started coaching back in 2019, can't believe I'm even saying that. I had a promise, and I made a promise myself that I would address sugar addiction, health and weight loss differently from everything that's out there. I didn't want to talk about food. And I know that sounds crazy because it's the food that's affecting our health. But I realized with my own addiction that if I did not address the psychological first, we could never handle the food, and that's how I Kick Sugar was born, helping you kick sugar to finally find food freedom. But if I'm being honest, it kind of stopped there. I didn't show you how, like after module 10, how to transition through your sugar detox, or into your life afterwards, eating like a truly healthy person after you've declared your day. And that's why I created the 90-day challenge. I saw that there was a need to teach the basics of nutrition through the macro method that I had been learned, with the goal of helping all of you to lose weight. And while that challenge has helped so many women over and over again through the years, had huge results, of running it, I've seen really the same thing that so many women, even going through the challenge guidebook, just weren't grasping some of the foundations of nutrition, especially how to balance macronutrients like carbs, fats, and proteins. And I learned from running that challenge, and through my private coaching, that most of you just really needed additional information, in understanding metabolic health. I just wasn't providing enough information. Honestly, it was just too elementary. And because the challenge, if I'm being honest, it's a big undertaking. I've only taught that basic nutrition once a year. We only hold it once a year. Do you have access to that through the challenge guidebook, or if you're working one-on-one through private coaching, leaving many of you unable to get this information until now. So that's really why I created Lean in 12, for you, for the women who's completed the I Kick Sugar course, or the masterclass program, who's declared their day, who's now has their sugar freedom and they're ready to reset their metabolism through strategic nutrition, through intentional movement, really incorporating more strength training and sustainable lifestyle habits so that you can lose the weight and gain energy. So that's reason number one, that there really was a need, a demand for this material. It's like nothing that I've created before. Now, reason number two, so the other seed for me was the realization that since writing the original I Kick Sugar course and the challenge guidebook over these past 6 years, I've gained so much more knowledge, and there's just been updated information that wasn't there when I originally wrote I Kick Sugar or the challenge guidebook. And I share, with all of you all the time, and I try and emphasize that health is a journey, so even on my own health journey, it is continuous. So I myself also, I'm always trying to learn new things in the health field, trying to keep up with the research, reading new books and studies, listening to the latest cutting edge science, and discovering new tools and tests that simply just weren't available years ago. So for example, when I created I Kick Sugar back in 2019, the continuous glucose monitors, the CGMs, they were only available for prescriptions, and they were only mainly used by type 1 diabetics, like my sister Tracy, who's type 1. But in 2024, so literally just less than a year ago, all of that changed. And the FDA has cleared now the first over-the-counter GMs with Dexcon Stelo, which I know a lot of you have. That was in March, followed by Abbott's Lingo in September, the one that I've used. And for the first time, people without diabetes could access this tool, to better understand and take control of their metabolic health. And let me tell you, these devices, they are an absolute game changer. As many of you, I know, you all know, and you're discovering right now. Super excited. Like, where has this been? And since I personally would never do anything or advise anything that I haven't personally tried myself, I wore a CGM for 6 weeks. And wow, I quickly realized I still had a lot to learn about my own health, my own body, and how it responds to different foods, the meal timing, my workouts, sleep, and stress. So this is all important data coming back to me. And this information prior to me using the CGM, it was all just theory, stuff that I had read and information like, oh, stress causes this. Well, that was just a theory. But when I was wearing that, now I could actually see this is more than a theory now. And, it really allowed me using this device to start seeing it for real, what I had been reading. So in Lean in 12, that's where I go deep diver, where I dive deeper, not only to reinforce the importance of those early health markers that I teach you and I ask you to do in Module 1 in the I Kick Sugar course, but to also introduce you to additional tests and tools that have gained real relevance, in these recent years. So this way you can measure your health with clarity and confidence. And really, this expanded approach, it just gives us access to real actionable data, so you're not guessing anymore, that you're actually making informed choices. You can make decisions every step of the way. So in Lean in 12, I introduce you to a few different assessment tools like the continuous glucose monitor. I talk about your waist circumference, nothing that I ever talked about before in I Kick Sugar. Your fasting insulin. I didn't discuss that before. The importance of that. And wow, that test is a game changer too. And your visceral fat, which you measure on your scale. So that's not in those prior courses and programs. And that is really the number two reason that I needed to share, was because I really needed to update the information. I had to keep with the times for sure. I don't want to be pushed aside because I'm not keeping up with it. Okay, number three. So the third reason, the third seed, I'll call it, actually sprouted. This idea to write this actually came from our community. Believe it or not, that's how important you ladies are. And it was back in 2023. So I saw in our masterclass community that we had a few members and they were sharing that they were using their CGM. And some had diabetes, some had prediabetes, and others didn't. One woman in particular just wanted to learn more about her body. And she shared in the group how it really changed everything for her. And it was that missing piece that she needed beyond what I had taught. And her story and her sharing, it really sparked something in me, this curiosity. And she really inspired me deeply. That post planted a seed in me around the same time that I started noticing out there more and more athletes that were using, continuous glucose monitors, not because they were sick, but because they wanted to optimize their performance. And this was helping with that and their metabolic health. And it was slowly starting to become more mainstream, not just for people with diabetes, but for anyone, who wanted to take ownership of their health. And that's when I started seeing companies begin creating these programs using the continuous glucose monitors. And it was kind of becoming hip, if you have that on your arm. So you can't assume that someone's diabetic now if you see that on their arm. When I saw it in the past, way back when, I was like, oh, she's like my sister Tracy. Not anymore. And I saw these companies creating these programs, you know, and that little voice in my head, it just kept whispering to me. I couldn't shut it up, CGM, CGM, CGM. And then that's really what finally got me to say, okay, Joyce, it's time. Put it on, put on the continuous glucose monitor, do the work and write this darn book, do the hard work, sit your tush down and do it. So I started diving deeper, into glucose and your metabolism research. And I began to question some of the symptoms that I was personally experiencing. Things that I've been brushing off because I'm going to be turning 55 into this month, right? Looking pretty good, feeling pretty good for 55. And I can't believe I'm saying I'm going to be 55. It's crazy. And going through menopause, so full transparency, this past year, I honestly was really exhausted. And I chalked a lot of it up to the fact that I am turning 5 at the end of this month. And I figured it was just menopause. My menopause ride over these 6 years, it's been up and down. You just have to learn to surf those waves, and despite eating clean, working out, trying to manage my stress, I definitely noticed that's my biggest thing there. Something still felt off for me. My energy just hasn't been consistent. Sleep was elusive. I don't even know what that is. And cravings for food, healthy food, but was out of control. I was just starting to think about food more, wanting and craving, and my portions were getting bigger, even though I was sugar free. And I mean, there were nights, I'm sure many of you can relate to this. I think we have a lot of menopausal women in the group. The hot flashes, they're just like, it's like this inferno that comes over your body and it leaves you burning from the inside out, which then, you end up having these night sweats when it's happening at night and you're sleeping. They're so bad. I wake up, my sheets are soaked, pillows, everything, my clothes, just feeling, like I'd run a marathon in my sleep. And then you have to get up, change things in the middle of the night, and then I lay back down and it's just insomnia. Now I'm wide awake, endless hours lying awake. And sleep deprivation then starts to take a toll on you, right? So there's stress there because you're just exhausted. You're just staring at the ceiling. And I was just praying for hours of, rest, some sleep. It's just exhausting and it's defeating. And it does, like just like a 2-year-old who's tired, who we all have seen, like when they're tired, they start throwing these tantrums. I mean, that was definitely me. It was having an effect on my emotions. And it has to do with sleep. Like I'm just not getting enough sleep. And I was though determined, just like when I kicked sugar and I was determined to find out answers, I was determined to find out answers. So I explored the world of metabolic health. And between Dr. Casey Means, who's a leading expert in metabolic health, and she's the author of Good Energy, which I share with all of you in Lean in 12, highly recommend her book, Good Energy. She emphasizes the importance, of wearing and using a glucose monitor. She's also the founder of Levels, which has a whole program for that. And that's part of really what inspired me to dive deeper into this world of metabolic health, along with the brave women from our community, all of you that I've mentioned. Menopause, it's not, I realize this now, it's not just a phase for us to suffer through. And I discovered from looking at it, not getting stuck in my ways, but looking at it from a different angle, that it really is a complicated transition that affects every system in our body, from our hormones to our brain function, to our metabolism, to our heart health. And what I didn't learn until recently from using the continuous glucose monitor is that the real science behind what we're experiencing isn't just beyond the lack of estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. That during menopause, our bodies actually naturally shift. And largely, that's because of the decline of estrogen, as we know. And this is the major trigger of the hot flashes and the night sweats, which then, yes, leads to insomnia. That is a huge chunk of it. And that's what I focused on in the past. But what I didn't know was the role that glucose plays in all of that. You see, during menopause, our gut health changes. I didn't really study and dive into that either. And as does our metabolism. So, especially our glucose metabolism, right? So, our body is metabolizing glucose differently through menopause. And these changes are real, right? And they're biological and they deserve to be acknowledged, to be talked about, and supported with real solutions, not to be silenced like the community wants to. Like so many women, I just slowly focused on my hormones. Many of you might have even remembered our special IKS live masterclass special where I did an event on hormones, right? I brought in a specialist years back. I mean, I have used and I've shared with you ladies every supplement, cream, troche, you name it, shots, therapy under the sun to balance them out. And many have worked and it has helped. Like you have to do that too. But if I'm being honest, as I was explaining earlier, these symptoms, there were still symptoms that were lingering. They were better, but they were still there. And what I didn't realize, again, was that menopause isn't just about estrogen and progesterone. Our glucose, our blood sugar, it plays a massive role too. And I didn't realize that hot flashes have actually been associated with insulin resistance, and high blood sugar. And no one is really talking about this until recently. So this is really when everything changed for me. When I started using the continuous glucose monitor, suddenly now I could see how my foods, that I was eating, even the healthy foods, and also this is key for me, the timing, the times that I was eating these foods and my stress levels, these were all impacting my blood sugar levels, and therefore in turn, after I made these changes, my sleep, my energy, and my moods started improving. Whew. And by making just these small little tweaks and changes that I never thought would do anything, I've actually improved my glucose stability. My nights are just starting to become dreamy again. I can actually sleep with my pajamas. I don't have to sleep buck naked. It's awesome. No more laying awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, drenched in sweat, feeling like a prisoner, of my own body. I just finally have more nights where I'm waking up refreshed, lighter in spirit, lighter in body and mood. And then that, therefore, if I'm not this child like acting like a 2-year-old tantrum because I didn't get enough sleep, then this stress is relieved. And it just becomes this snowball effect, right? Everything is interconnected. It's all related, and boy, I'm feeling better. So I'm really excited about going into 55. And that really was a spark for me, that moment that I knew I had to share for all you ladies what I've been discovering, the next path to optimal health with all of you. So I hunkered down, I was resisting, and I did the hard work, and I wrote Lean in 12. All I can say is I'm so thankful I have a desk that raises up and down because like I was doing a lot of time in front of the computer, but I'm happy to say I was standing a lot of time doing stretches and moving my body. So I wasn't just stuck here glued to my seat, but I was still working. So let's clear something up real quick also. When people hear, I know when I first came up with the name Lean in 12, they usually assume, oh, this is about losing weight, leaning out, right? Shedding, your fat and doing it in 12 weeks. It's kind of maybe what I thought when I wrote it, but it really wasn't as I continue going on. This is so much more than that. And I always like to have really dive into words. You all know how I love diving into the meaning of words and looking up words in the dictionary and diving deeper. So it is more than that. Getting lean isn't just about fast loss. That's not what this is about. This is about us leaning out our lives, right? Eliminating the waste, whatever that waste is, right? That holds us back, whether it's wasted time, ineffective routines, or habits that no longer serve us. So this isn't just about 12 weeks. Okay. This isn't something you do like, oh, this is 12 weeks for me to do. No. This is for the next 12 months. Guess what? The next 12 years and beyond. My hope is that this program becomes the catalyst for you for lasting change, that will plant many more seeds for you, and you'll go on to find other seeds, where your health isn't just a destination, but it becomes a daily practice. This is about setting yourself up for lifelong success, building those habits that just become, through time and repetition, second nature. It's just who you are. Fully embracing a way of living that supports your best self, today and tomorrow and for always. So at the core of Lean in 12, as I said, it's about efficiency. It's about cutting out those non-value foods, right? All that fake foods, cutting out those habits and distractions, while adding in what truly benefits your body and our minds and our spirits, right? Our soul. This means focusing on high quality nutrient, foods that are dense, high training, really training, getting strength training, and daily practices that continually improve our metabolism and our well-being. You see, this isn't just a book. It's a call, really. I like to call it a call that you're being called to, for us to lean into your health, lean into your power, and lean into your future with excitement. Okay. So I know we can all do this together, and I'm excited for all of you to feel amazing. I'm going to continue to stay amazing. We're going to continue to learn from each other. Woo! So now you have the inside scoop. And I want to take a few moments now to bring up one of our masterclass students who I talked about just a moment ago, one of those seeds. Before I do, though, I actually want to read to you one of the posts, her post that she wrote back in 2023. You can thank her, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have Lean in 12 that planted that seed. And she shared this. So I'm going to read this to you. In quotes, she said, in weight terms, I was a little over 80 kilograms when I signed up for IKS, and I lost 5 kilograms to take me to a much more comfortable weight. With the continuous glucose monitor, added a complete visibility on how and what I was impacting, how it was impacting my body. Because of that, I've lost another 10 kilograms. That's a total of 33 pounds. I actually can't believe I'm even writing that, and my weight is well within a healthy range for my weight, unquote. So since the launch, her and I have had several private conversations via email, and I've actually come to find out that she actually went on to work, get this, for a while on the analytics for one of the continuous glucose monitor companies. Wow, does she have a lot of insight? So she had real access and great insights to how individual, just like I talk about in the program, right? And Lean in 12, how this is really individual for everyone. Sweet potato might affect you differently than somebody else. That's the bottom line. So I asked her if she would come on and just share her personal experience from working to using her own continuous glucose monitor. So are you all dying to meet and say, like, who is this? Who is this? So without further ado, our very own masterclass member, all the way from Ireland, Linda Fitzpatrick. Woo, woo. Hi, Linda. Yay. I think it's the evening time for Linda now. Oh, yeah. Unmute yourself. Let's
Can
see.
you can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great, great.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Welcome,
It's
sweetheart. Thank you for joining so much. So
Thank you,
excited.
thank you. It is. It's 5:30 here, and I am delighted that it's hitting me in a time zone that I can come to because normally it's midnight, and I think, oh, I'm going to go this month or this week, and then it comes like it's sleeping time. It's the middle of the week, and I think, no, I'm actually going to go to sleep. So I'm just really delighted to see everybody, in real person,
Mm.
that we chat online, and it's great. And secondly, I just think the book you've written is brilliant. You've hit all the nails on the head. And I think it's really important as well because when people jump in and start using a CGM, there's so much to learn and so many different you need somebody explaining it, alongside you. And you've done that so well, so it's brilliant, you know.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Share with us, if you would, some of your discoveries, why you love it and how it's really helped you beyond, you shared you loved the master class, you learned from the master class, but you needed more, which I understand. I needed more. We all need more. And after this, there'll be something else we all need to continue on
Yeah.
with our education, right? So
Yeah.
share a
Yeah.
little bit, about what insights you had and revelations. I know you can't talk too much about the work you did with the company, but if there's anything that you can share, feel free to. We'd love to hear.
Yeah. So, I think I joined IKS via the book, or sorry, the audio book, which
Yep.
I still love. Like it's one of the best ways I take in information. And then I joined, that was 2021, and then I think I joined the masterclass in about March of 2022. And what that really did was remove the shame for me. I know I've said that before, about, having this compulsion to eat sugar that I wasn't able to manage, And I've actually also noticed that the conversation around Ozempic is doing that massively. The amount of people I'm speaking to, and they're actually mentioning the term food addiction, and they may be on Ozempic or whatever, but it's opening up all of that, and I think it's brilliant that it's lifting the shame off it. So
Yeah.
IKS did that for me, and I still, like I said, I was at a much more comfortable weight. But I was still falling down too much, too often, and my cholesterol was high, and the doctor was trying to put me on statins, as they do once you hit over 50. You can be motoring away at the same level, 48, 49. Once you hit 50, at least here, the
Yeah.
doctor says, oh, you better really go on a statin. And then she was saying, maybe you have familial high cholesterol. So I thought, I think it's more likely to be a familial sweet tooth.
Right.
And my son had been working in with a friend of ours who is a metabolic physiologist, and he had been wearing them for a long time, or I mean, a couple of years, and he had been wearing all the different devices and comparing them all, and he'd started to put his clients on them with great success. So my son was working in with him, and he was wearing one. My son was wearing one as a healthy comparison subject because he was 22 at the time, so his metabolism would have been, much much healthier than ours. Plus, he has very healthy habits. So I was watching that and I was thinking I could never do that, that it's just so tough. Plus, there's feedback built into it so that the coach can see what you're doing and give out to you basically. And then I was on holidays in Venice, and it was August, and I kind of thought, you know, I'm still craving too often, and that it's like being a sober alcoholic, and that I needed to do more. So I signed up. It was August, it was my birthday, and it was October before it arrived. And I had just got solar panels on my roof 10 days beforehand. So I was watching the energy in, the energy out, the energy to the battery on the solar panels. And then my CGM arrived, and immediately it was just identical. You could see how everything is impacting everything. And uh, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You cannot unsee what you see. I was so surprised. What really blew me away was how quickly fruit impacted me, because I love fruit. I was definitely eating way too much fruit, and I did know it. When I wasn't eating sugar, I crutched. It was my crutch. I was crutching on it, and I could see it rocketing me up, sky high. So I had to pull back a lot on that. And I also saw that I responded much quicker to sugar intake than my husband did, or than many other people who I've seen on it who would drink alcohol. I don't drink at all, and now if somebody's drinking beer and that, obviously that's got too high carbohydrate level in it. But if it's a wine that doesn't have so much sugar, or maybe a spirits, um, as a regular drinker, they have a much flatter line than I had. And
Yeah.
my husband has since cut back massively on the alcohol that he's drinking, and his line is now much more responsive than it was. So his line, like he could eat bread and stuff and stay relatively flat,
Hmm.
where I couldn't. I'd be up and down
Yes.
very quickly. So it was very interesting to see that, and I have noticed that, like, just as an insight, So that was very interesting. And to be honest, day one when my son was working in the gym, the people whom he was working with in the gym knew that was how to cheat. So, you know,
So interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
I mean, I think the biggest thing I learned also and confirmed, is so why does everybody, we're talking about, people, the same food can react differently to different
yeah,
people.
yeah,
And that has to do then with our genes. So we just have to accept that. Here I am, I think I'm a pretty healthy person. I eat pretty darn healthy. And, yeah, right. I could see these glucose spikes happening from healthy foods that were carbs, mind you, also. And, for someone who's not eating sugar and eating the little amount that I am of a carb, and I'm not going to lie to you, ladies, I'm not talking about all healthy carbs. As I've shared in the I Kick Sugar book, in the course book, I'll have, although I'm not eating gluten anymore, it's been since last May, so a year now, but I would have like in the past a bean and burrito that would have a tortilla in it, or I could use the gluten-free tortillas again, though. There you go, or have a gluten-free pizza maybe twice a month, and these things are having an effect, and I'm thinking, but like I'm barely eating it, so there comes that whole, wow, why me? I don't get it. I'm eating so healthy, I can't just have this little bit of that. And what really it's showing you again and this is happening though, like, so I thought, okay, I'm strict. I'm not having the gluten-free pizza during the month, and I'm having my sweet potatoes. But then now I'm seeing, wow, like having the same spike as the pizza. Why? And the answer, and from talking to doctors that haven't been putting, again, here's the theory put to the test now. They've all said with my labs and where I'm at and how I'm eating, I have genes, I am not glucose, excuse me. I am carb intolerant. There are people who are carb intolerant. So you could basically just say borderline diabetic, right? That if I was eating like the sad American diet, I'd already probably be a type 1 diabetic by now, and I'd be on insulin. Because my body doesn't even produce a lot of insulin, period. I have a very low fasting insulin. And I think that's proof, yes, to how I'm eating, but also because I just probably don't make as much as the normal person, my pancreas. So it's on that borderline. So our genes play a huge factor. And it's really is you being able to see, as you were talking about live, with this information, oh, I'm very sensitive, call it sensitive, how we've talked about sugar sensitivity. It's carb sensitivity, whatever the carb is, right? And I don't know about you, like maybe you could share, but like there is something powerful. Just you read this and you hear this, but when you actually see what's happening to you, almost like the exercise where I make all of you ladies write down everything that you have eaten for the day before you kick sugar, so you can see, oh my gosh, I ate 400, 600 grams of sugar. It has an impact on you psychologically to want to do something when you see like that sweet potatoes at a certain time, by the way, because that's the big thing I discovered too. Timing plays a role. Just like I was preaching all these years, I've been saying, because the data was out there, we're all carb intolerant, we're all insulin sensitive in the evening, all human beings. And here I am eating the bulk of my calories, whether they're healthy or not, later in the day when I should be eating that earlier in the day. And just that also stops the cravings for more because it can be handled better. When you see the results, when you saw that, is that where you're like, I can't do this again? I can't eat the same food because I know what it's doing to me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I know in IKS we talk about not falling off the wagon, but I don't know how else to phrase it. Let's just call it the bad wolf coming up,
I say we swerved off the side of the road.
when we swerve off the side of the road, like for example, Christmas, you just can't keep on, behaving like you were when you see it, when you see the impact of it, especially if it's late at night and you see the sugar roller coasting through your blood,
Yeah.
you know that that's not good. I mean, I posted the picture of how my sleep changed, from I was actually told to eat a bit of protein late at night, all right, at the start. So that was interesting. But no, my view on carbohydrates has changed completely. And I did struggle with that because you just hear it everywhere. Oh, but you need carbohydrates. And I am so convinced now that it really is the fibrous, nutritious carbohydrates that we need.
Yes.
And really just sticking to large quantities of those and putting in little bits of the other ones is the way to go. The eating late at night, in my app, we're not allowed to eat after 7. If I put in my dinner after 7, I get a note back saying that's too late to be eating.
Ooh, I love
And
that.
I don't like even when I was I don't like getting those messages. I don't like getting scolded. That so for the first 3 months I was like, a brilliant student, because I didn't like getting negative feedback. And the tone of the app has changed a little bit as it's grown and gone to market. But when I was giving back messages, sometimes I'd be giving them to myself. And I sent a message out one time to myself. I thought it was nice and kind. And when I received it, I was like, what the hell? So that really helped to keep me on track and just adjust my habits.
Yes.
Um, I do find, like, you talk about people being different. I do find I need to eat enough at dinner time. Like rather than have a really small meal, I kind of tend to split my meals into two large meals, one at kind of 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, one at about 6 o'clock, and then three smaller ones. This is not what we're encouraged to do on the app I'm on. We're encouraged to eat 3 times a day, full stop. A large meal, a large meal, a large meal. That just doesn't work for my schedule. And the three smaller meals and the two larger meals, it works for me and it works for my line, and so that's what I do. But eating after 7 o'clock is an absolute no. At the
Yeah.
same time, if I don't eat enough, most of the time, if I find I'm going small on dinner, I don't have energy the following morning.
Yeah.
And my line is pretty flat now for the night. My nighttime line is nice and level. So that's what's working for me there.
That's the same thing that I noticed when I
Yeah,
started. When I was having more carbs at the end of the day, then that's what was creating, like, I'd wake up in the morning, wonder why I wasn't getting a good restful sleep,
yeah,
wondering why I was waking up, thinking it was all just menopause, and then seeing, oh my gosh,
yeah,
like no wonder why, like I went high and then I dropped down low.
absolutely.
It's like I went
And
high.
on
Like,
all of those spikes, you wake up. When you get those giant spikes in the night, they wake you. They disturb your
yes.
sleep. Yeah,
Yes. And
yeah,
so that, is what then when I started changing the timing
yeah,
of food, then I could start seeing, oh wow, it's much more level. Like again, I had like that flat line. I love the
yeah.
flat line
I do too.
throughout the
Yeah,
night. And I'd wake up in the morning, be like, oh my gosh, I slept through the night. And that explains it. So that wasn't leaving me wondering what was different with my hormones? Again, estrogen, progesterone. Like I was looking at the wrong, marker. Like that's what was keeping me up at night. And I was blaming it on all that other stuff. Like these creams aren't working. This isn't happening. So yeah, real eye opener for sure.
yeah.
I mean,
I do.
again, I can't, you really had a huge impact on me. You just have no idea. So I'm so
Oh,
thankful You got, you shared, it was nothing about the course. You were doing something separate on your own, which I love from any of you ladies to share. It's all information. It's how we
Yeah,
learn.
yeah.
Like literally all you ladies have to thank Linda because if it wasn't for her and that little,
Oh,
it's true, that little seed planting in my head, I
mhm,
wouldn't. I just kept going back to what is she doing? This is
mhm.
working for her. And I always questioned it because of my sister and seeing how she could track stuff, but just had no idea. And so thank you. Thank you again for doing that. It's so good to see you.
I know
Yeah.
you're so welcome, and I think that everybody, if they just get that insight for 2 weeks, it's a game changer.
Yes, it's so true.
Yeah,
Right. Like, I mean, I started for 4, I did it for 6. Part of me is wanting to grab another one again because it's just almost fun and it
yeah,
keeps you. I like to think of it also, you said it too, like how there was the scolding or it tells you, gives you feedback. To me, I almost like to call it, it's like my accountability coach. I mean, it really is. You've got an accountability coach right there on your shoulder, cheering you on or letting you know and reminding you, because like you also, particularly, and I think there's a lot in the group who are type A, you want to please, you want to do right, right? You want to get that gold star on your paper. It's like it's a goal for me to have a good, steady line throughout the day. And that's positive, like instead of playing Candy Crush on your phones, lady play, they got to come up with a game for your glucose.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so, if anyone's out there wondering should they get one, I hope from talking, hearing it from Linda, myself, reading any of you reading in the group, the other ladies who have it, I hope you really do invest in it. 2 weeks at least. I mean, you can get started for 2 weeks, like for $49. If you do a month and you get the two, they last for 2 weeks. The glucose monitors, most of them out there you can get for $99 or under. Like I got a month for $88, I think it was. So it's definitely worth that, or you can continue on. And as I've shared, there are other programs out there similar, I think, to the company that Linda worked for in Ireland that have programs along with it where you get more coaching. Do you need that? I mean, that's up to you. I wouldn't discourage it. If you have
You
the money
do.
and you could do it, do it. Yeah, please
If
do.
you don't get a coaching app, make sure to get Lean in 12 because you summarized all the things that make the big difference. You've summarized the fiber, the protein, the exercise, the timing of the exercise. You've summarized all of those things. You mentioned probiotic like fermented foods. You've summarized all of the things that make all the big differences. So if somebody gets it for 2 weeks and they have to spend 2 weeks doing all that learning, they can much better put that to use if they get Lean in 12. I'm like an ad, aren't I? They can much better put that to use if they
I
know.
did not ask her to say that, ladies.
No, that was when I read it, that was the first thing that I thought that you have hit all of the metrics, and it's huge information that just makes better use of the 2 weeks.
Uh, I have to tell you, when she got an email, I think I'm speaking for you. You got an email, Lean in 12's here, and then you reached out to me via email saying, "Oh, this is so great," and that and
Yeah.
that. And I'm so happy. I was hoping you do something metabolic, that has to do with the continuous glucose monitor. So that's awesome. Wish you all the best. Then she mentions in the email, like, "Oh, I worked, doing analytics for a glucose monitor company, and we, like running the programs. I saw the stats, and I'm just like, this is to show you ladies how we all have these fears. I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't read it. She's gonna read it, she's gonna get it, and she's gonna like, she knows her shit, excuse me. And now she's gonna be like, okay, Joyce has got it all wrong. She's, like, this is not good, and she forgot this, or where did she come up with that? And I was really nervous. Then, like, oh my gosh, then she like emails me back, I got it, I bought it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she bought it. And then she came back and shared with me saying how what she just shared now that I did an okay job. I
Did
got
a
my
great job.
research down. So
Oh,
thank you.
it-
It's
yeah.
challenging to take all that information in and to try and deliver it in a way that's easy and accessible. Because like one of the things I also heard from women reading, there were some people even prior to me launching Lean in 12, saying that they started reading Good Energy. from Casey Means that, oh, I love the book, but their response was kind of went over my head. It's a lot of information. And this is where I say it's a process for all of us, right? Because, like, honestly, I don't know if I was ready to be able to absorb and digest and be able to break down this type of information for all of you, 4, 5 years ago. And it's through my process of learning and constantly educating, acknowledging that I could understand it better when I read this information to be able to share it. So when I talk about our journeys constantly going, that's what I'm talking about too. You're going to become this master, all of you, with your bodies and really understand it all through time. So thank you for saying that. That makes me feel good. Thank you. Any last words you'd like to share to the group live, since you probably won't see us live for a while?
No, everybody's going in the absolute right direction, and it so inspires me. And I've said it to you on email. What inspires me so much is that everybody is trying to do this the right way rather than taking the shortcuts that just lead to knock-on effect and knock-on effect. It just, I mean, it blows me away. And you see people at different levels, and everybody's leveling up. So
Yeah, so
great
true.
work. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Linda, for being here
yeah.
today. Love it. Woo!
You.
All right. Oh, by the way, when I was talking real quickly, I want to bring up for you ladies, for anyone who's in Canada, if you haven't, if you're trying to get a glucose monitor, reach out in the group, or Noreen, one of our masterclass students, already, I loved her determination. See, now normally some women might be like, because I saw a post of hers, darn it, I ordered the lingo and it doesn't work with my app. And Noreen is from Canada. And I can't tell you how it would be so typical of a customer to just be like, I want a refund. This program isn't going to work for me. I can't get it. But did she do that? No. She, on her own, like, figured out a way and did, I guess, a bunch of research. I don't know how Noreen did it. And diving to see what was available for a glucose monitor that would work for her app in Canada. And she found one. She found one cheaper than all of us. Like, kudos to you. She's a savvy shopper, and got some coupons or something and got herself, I think, a month's worth, which is amazing. So, if you're like, well, it's not working with my phone, this particular one that Joyce mentioned, or I'm out of the country, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. If you want something bad enough, you keep looking and finding. So reach out to Noreen in the group if you need, how she did it and what company she's using. She did mention it, in the group, and it's already left my mind as to what company it was. But kudos, just a shout out to Noreen. Thank you. All right, let's open it up to some questions, answers. Melissa, do you want to come up here with me? Did we get any questions, first of all, in the chat box?
We didn't have any questions in the chat box. We do have, Noreen does have some questions, so I'll bring her up in a minute.
Perfect.
And I have a question.
I
Can I
love
bring
it.
it? So I was just, I loved hearing Linda's such great information, and love hearing about like making the line as, level as possible. So my question was, after I eat, when there is a little blip, like how much of a blip should is normal? We're going to see something after we eat, right? So
Yeah.
what am I
So,
looking for?
well, I do address that in Lean in 12, like what range you want to stay in. Um, I apologize, ladies, I'm not great with numbers. I want to say the highest, if you're in the healthy range, it shouldn't go above 140. If you're eating, a meal, that's like the healthy top range. And to kind of see it going up, not like this spike straight up and then this spike straight down. That's what we're trying to avoid. To see a steady, incline going up, even if it hits that higher number, 140, even 150, okay? And then it coming down, slowly, that's normal. Linda, if we want to pull Linda up real quick, if you would have anything to add, because I know you've seen numbers, if you want to gauge and give me a different viewpoint, because I'm new to all this, ladies.
And yeah, let me bring her back up. Hold on, I'm adding.
Mute myself. Okay. So you're dead, yeah. What hills and mountains rather than spikes and drops. And we are on my one, as I said actually to you, Joyce, we have an exaggerated y-axis so that the
Yeah.
spikes look more dramatic than they are on other monitors. And the upper limit is also lowered to 6.5 mmol millimoles per liter. What's that? Is that 119, I think? Is it 100 and yeah.
Yeah.
So it's lowered to there, but that the spike from eating is under one. If it's under one, you get a message back, this food caused a spike and does not suit you.
Yeah.
So that is the goal. I don't know what one is in the
US.
milligrams per GL, is it? I'm not sure what one is.
Yeah.
I'll Google it. So that's the app that I was using originated to take people out of prediabetes. Whereas now it has translated, I suppose, and extended because that was very much when it was one-on-one. It's very
Right.
much grown into an overall metabolic health thing, but those are the metrics we are aiming for, you know.
Right. The
Yeah.
other difference you made me just think to let women know if you don't realize it, why these are also available now and at such a low cost, like what we're paying versus like what my sister has to pay through
Yeah.
insurance for hers, is it's a much more advanced technology, like her Dexcom, because her life depends on it.
Yeah.
So in in like the Lingo one or Estella, the range is going to be shorter. Like it'll only go to like
Yeah.
55 and then you can't see what it's below. Like did you go below 55? How much below? Or if you go above like 160, 150, what above, how high did it go? So they have a smaller range. It's just not as an advanced tool because you don't need that if you're not diabetic. And so that's just something to keep in mind also that we might not know that, but hopefully we're not going down there and we're not going up there that we don't need that for sure. So yeah, I know every company has a little bit of a different range, number system, but overall in general, it's the same. And Melissa, again, I loved what you said, Linda. Can you repeat it? The mountains, hills,
Rolling hills rather than cliffs and mountains.
love it.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
We want to just go over rolling hills,
Yeah.
kind of like like the metaphor for life, right? We don't
Yeah.
want these super highs and
Yeah.
these super lows. Let's try and
Yeah.
surf those waves for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
Linda. Thank you, Melissa.
Problem.
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was excellent answer. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Noreen for
Wonderful.
us.
Noreen from Canada. Yay, our first place grand prize winner from the challenge this year. Look at those shoulders, man, ladies. Woo! And bicep. Wait, do that again. We need a shot there. Yeah. Dang. Woo, woo. Yes, I love it. Okay, beautiful. What do you got for me?
So I started using my glucose monitor. So it is the Abbott Freestyle Libra 2.
Okay.
And I got it through my insurance company. That's how I was able to get it so low. It may be covered, it may not. You don't need a prescription. I just went to the pharmacy and said, hey, and voila.
That's
So
all.
I've been using it since uh, Thursday night.
Okay.
And so ours is in numbers. So instead of it being, I'm looking at your lean in 12, I've got it up on my other screen. 70, I believe, works out to be 3.9 on my scale, and 140, I believe, is 13 on my scale, or no, 9.9. So I'm in those numbers. What I've been blown away by is I have a flat number, which is wonderful. But what I notice is my glucose starts to go down.
Okay.
And when I exercise, that's when it actually brings it up. Now, my alarm's gone off 3 times this morning, saying I was low, below 3.2. I got down to 3.2. So I looked on the internet and it says, well, if you're not pre-diabetic or diabetic, it's okay, once in a while, but be between 2 and 3.9. But the alarm goes off and wakes me up and wakes my husband up. But what I'm a couple of things is I think I had an aha that when I go to the bathroom, that actually is a way for my body to spike my glucose because that's the only thing that brought my glucose up was me moving my body. So I was doing squats in the bathroom this morning, at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I found that really weird. And I'm shocked at how flat my line is, but I am a little curious, we'll put it, about getting low.
Okay.
And is there something that I should be doing? Because I don't eat past 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Um, does my body need something more so that I don't take those dips?
Yeah, yeah. It very well could be. Kind of like Linda was talking about how she can't have a teeny meal at that dinner time, like that last meal. For her, it's got to be a little bit bigger, if I'm not mistaken. That's what she said. The three things to keep in mind, if you feel like you're going low and oh my gosh, am I hypoglycemic? What's happening here? Notice if you have, first of all, I wouldn't, just like it said, and I read the same thing, I wouldn't be concerned unless you have the symptoms of hypoglycemia. Then it's something to be addressing with your doctor. Are you hypoglycemic? Could this possibly be? So definitely keep your eye on that. Symptoms are eluding me now, but I think it's getting sweaty. It would be like waking up. Uh,
Nervousness.
yeah, I was just gonna
I've
say.
actually had hypoglycemic episodes, so I know exactly what they are.
Okay, so
Yeah, you sweat, you get the jitters, you can't
yeah,
focus properly, you feel like fainting.
yes.
Um, and I didn't have any of those symptoms this morning.
Okay. So I would definitely talk to your doctor about that and see, am I hypoglycemic? I haven't done enough research on that to be able to tell you what does that mean? What does your life look like then? What do you have to do for that? Already you're seeing a difference with just doing that. Why, everything that I've read and understand why our glucose raises a bit when we get up, like in the morning, it can raise because one, it's also connected if it's at the right timing in the morning, not talking about in the middle of the night, but has to do with our cortisol, which then affects our insulin. And so and our glucose, that's going to then start creating a higher glucose. So it's not having to do anything with the food that you're eating. It is very common. I think it's called the dawn effect for us to have that in the morning. If you're noticing that, which I notice it too when I do my workouts, my glucose is going up different from when I'm walking. When I take a nice brisk 10, 15-minute slow walk, after my meals, it's going down. When I'm doing a high intensity interval training, weightlifting, strength training, like really exerting myself, boom, it skyrockets. What's happening there, as well as why you're noticing, oh my gosh, I'm in the bathroom, it's low, I'm feeling low, I do some squats, and all of a sudden my glucose goes up. Because again, this is where glucose is the energy of life. We need glucose to move, to live. It gives us energy. And so what's happening is you're using your body and particularly you're using your biggest muscles, which require the most energy, right? Your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. And so when you are doing that, whatever time of day, here in this case in the morning, and you see your glucose go up, it's because your body now starts making, creating that glucose to rush in to feed those muscles to give you energy to do that. And that's where you're seeing that glucose spike. So it just shows you how amazing a machine our bodies are, right? How it wants to, what is she doing at 3 in the morning, Maureen? It seems like she needs some energy, everybody. Let's pump some glucose into those muscles for her. And that's what's happening. So again, I wouldn't be alarmed. I'd keep your eye on it. I also noticed, and from talking to some of the ladies, Melissa, myself, some others in the group, that in the first, so it's only been since Thursday for you.
Yeah.
In the first couple of days, it seems like, and maybe Linda can agree or not agree, it takes, at least for the one that I use, Lingo and Stella. I keep saying either Stella or Stello. I don't remember. I just want to say Stella. that that it takes a little while for the machine to actually kick in and really understand your body and start getting a reading and getting the feedback to really know how to base it. It needs more data to
Yeah.
give you back more accurate data, is my guess and take. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm noticing. Because I notice a lot of women were flatlining or below, after they even ate like all these carbs. And it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
Then 3, 4 days later, it's like, oh, it started leveling out. Then by a week, you're going to start seeing like, oh, this is what my real number is. And then by
Okay.
the second week, you'll have really good data. So give it maybe a little more time too, but don't
Okay.
discard hypoglycemia. I would, if you notice like after a week using it that you're still hitting those low numbers and you think you're eating all the right foods at the right timing and you're getting enough good healthy carbs in,
Yeah.
then definitely go visit with your doctor and see what they say for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Any other questions, Melissa? Do we have anyone else that wants to share or talk insights they've had? Oh, Melissa, you're muted. Can you believe it?
Sorry. Donna Haven has a question for
All
you.
right, Donna, unmute yourself.
I'm trying to figure out how to, oh, there we go. There we go. Actually, a couple of them were answered, but I do have, I have not started the program. I've had a lot going on and I wanted to be able to solely focus. So, I've kind of thumbed through the materials, but when you all started this and you did your CGMs, are you tracking on MyFitnessPal? Are you tracking somewhere else with what you're eating to get your numbers and how are y'all keeping up with that? I guess what my question is.
Okay, so that's a question for more of the other ladies. I'll answer what I think I've been seeing in the group, and what I teach in Lean in 12 is to first be sure that you are tracking your food, like you want to be keeping everything, know what you're eating ahead of time. So this isn't really tracking your food in MyFitnessPal, as I share a lot. I try and drill
Okay.
into all of you on a daily basis, like what am I going to eat, right now? Like don't do that. Plan out your meals, and now you're testing those meals with your 4-day meal plan using the continuous glucose. You will be putting, I know at least with Lingo, and I think Stella's the same way, you will have in their app, you have a way to put in at the time that you're eating what you ate. You don't have to get in detail, but it's just a reminder. And it lets the app know, like, okay, you ate that, sweet potato, you ate that peanut butter, whatever it is. You had that protein at that time. And maybe that was the best or the not so best choice at that
Okay.
time. So
Okay.
in you'll want to do it there on top of what you already are, have planned out.
Okay. All right. And then second, I think I asked it and someone may have, I didn't see it come back in the feed. Is there a separate Facebook group for Lean in 12? Is it someplace that we can go discuss Lean in 12 only?
No,
No.
it's
Okay.
it's available in either one of the groups.
Okay.
The majority of the women that grabbed a copy are my masterclass students.
Okay.
So many of you have been with me for so long. The majority of you have, graduated, you're sugar-free. So I'm trying to keep it simple, for me in particular, and also actually not just me in particular, for you in particular, because that happened with the challenge, having, oh, keep it just here. And everyone, like everyone's posting in the wrong group. So I knew if I had a separate group, everyone would still be posting in the master class or the main group, asking their question and not in there. So yeah, you can ask your questions there by all means.
Okay. And then another one on the CGM monitors. I know you've spoken of a couple of them. Is there one that anybody knows of that will last longer than the 2 or 3 weeks if one wants to continue on?
Yeah. So it's the actual mechanism itself, no matter what company, really they last 2 weeks. So you have to
Okay.
replace it on your arm 2 weeks.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So no matter who you purchase from, the two that I recommended are the ones that have you don't have to buy their coaching plans. You don't have to go on for these long time enrollments. It's a one-time fee for either buy one monitor for 2 weeks or buy two at a lower rate for, the 4 weeks for the 1 month. And if you like it, then you can continue on, or you can just buy some more single ones without. So yeah, that's how that works.
All right. And then I want to thank you personally for putting your time, your knowledge into working with all of us to make us all, anyone who joins, to make us all healthier. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Seeing you.
All right.
All right. I'm going to bring up Chris, who also has some questions.
Okay. And then don't leave anyone, because we're going to be doing gift cards here soon for the swag shop. Hello, Chris. I'm so glad you made it. Yay.
Hello. Yes, I wouldn't miss it. I have a question. Most of the time I'm flatlined, which I'm very happy about. But when I do spike, I come down really fast, like within 20 minutes. Is that normal, or is it just because I'm so insulin resistant that that's what's happening?
I'm going to be honest, I'm not positive.
Okay.
Maybe Linda knows, maybe she doesn't. I feel bad throwing everything on Linda all the time. If you have any inputs, because you're also the only other one who's probably worked with continuous glucose more than me. Again, from everything that I've read, if the key when we spike up, again, the goal is to have it slowly climb that mountain, not just as boop. And the goal is to slowly come down, which could then be an indicator, because I know your fasting insulin is higher, which means that you're insulin resistant. Chris and I have talked, so that could definitely be affecting that. That your insulin isn't there. It's not working with your glucose that you have, and we've got to get that better. But what is good to hear is that it's coming down within that 2 hour period. So, sometimes people can stay up there too high too, which is really an indicator, insulin resistance. Like you've got nothing to even bring that glucose back down. It's just staying up there. So if it's coming down within 2 hours, you're saying like 20 minutes to 30 minutes, I'd say that's healthy and normal, but we want to get you want to definitely get that better to where it isn't this boom all the way down so fast. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions?
I don't think so. All of them have been answered, I think. But thank you again for creating this. This has been wonderful.
Yay, you're welcome. All right, Melissa, if we don't have any other questions or anybody, I think, is it time for us to do some?
Almost. I have one more. Okay. Lisa says that you talked about giving up coffee. Have you stayed off it? And does your glucose spike with caffeine?
Ooh, someone's calling me out. So I did say I was headed towards giving up coffee, black coffee, mind you. I have not 100%, nor do I want to. I've made that a decision. But what I have done, since whenever I announced that and shared that with the group, so thank you, Lisa, is I have committed and been very disciplined to only doing, first of all, it has to be in the morning, be done with it by like 8, 9 o'clock, like no later. So I don't drink coffee any later in the day. And it's 1 cup, literally 1 cup I make with my coffee maker, black, in the morning. And I make it very watered down. I mean, you can see through it. And, it's a light coffee. So that alone has stopped me from having jitters, shakes. I think that's also been a contributor again, right? It's not just one thing. Help me to continue to sleep better during the nights also, because I think caffeine was a huge reason why I was staying up late at night, particularly being a slow caffeine metabolizer. I had those 2 genes tested to see, and I metabolize caffeine slow, which means I drink it now, it's still going to be in my system affecting me way later in the day. So if I was drinking late in the afternoon, like I used to be, no wonder why I was up late at night. It was starting to finally kick in then. So yeah, it has made a huge difference. And I've even noticed I have not seen any spikes, to answer your question about glucose. It doesn't do anything. It's just like flatline my coffee, probably because I drink nothing in it and it's almost like water. Even decaf coffee, because every once in a while I'm like, well, maybe I'll just have a little decaf at 1 o'clock. And we're talking like that much. And I start to feel like just not good. And so I'm like, I don't want this. Like, okay, decaf's supposed to be decaf, but we've also heard it's not. So listen to your body. It knows, and when that happens, then it's like, all right, back to the water or make a green juice, or have an electrolyte, an Ultima. So good question. Thank you.
All right, now I think we're ready for some giveaways.
Woo! Who wants to win some swag? Yay! All right, we're gonna do some winners now. You do not need to be present to win. I hope you are, so we can see your excited face when we call a name here. And then later in the day today, I will be sending out via email the gift cards. So anyone who was here, not here, excuse me, anyone who bought Lean in 12, you didn't have to be here, who bought Lean in 12 basically is entered into the drawing. So when we call your name, if you want to just maybe give a high five or shout out in the chat box or go like this so we can see you. That's awesome. We're going to be giving away two $50 swag gift cards to the swag shop. So you guys can grab some merch. And then we're going to give away another door prize, a grand prize door prize for $100 gift card. Woo! Feeling generous today. All right. So without further ado, let's all do a drum roll, ladies. And the first winner is Melissa. Who have we got?
All right, the winner is Susan
Woo!
Baldwin.
Susan Baldwin. Is she here? I'm trying to look and see if I see some exciting. Oh,
Yes.
there she is. Right. You had the exciting chicker jack in the back. Yay. Congratulations, Susan. Keep your eye out on your inbox for a gift card later today. So that's awesome. All right. Number two. Who have we got for number two winner?
Who is
Woo.
Kathy Hunter?
Kathy Hunter, come on down. Is she here? Let me look and just cheer and see. Do we see a Kathy
I
Hunter?
don't see her.
I don't see her. No. Okay. I see Kathy Tuttle, but I don't see Kathy Hunter. So, Kathy, if you're watching the replay, congratulations. We'll send you out a gift card. All right. And last but not least, who do we have? You know what? Before I do the grand prize, I'm feeling a little giveaway, right? Like I'm always giving. So let's do one more giveaway. Let's give another $50. So pull one more before we do the big grand prize. I'm going to make three $50 gift cards. So who do we have for a third one?
All
Melissa.
right, the
Drum
third winner
roll.
is Debbie Conklin.
Debbie Conklin. Come on down, sweetie. Is she here today? Let's see. Let me see if we can find Debbie. Debbie. Is
Oh,
Debbie here?
she's here, but she's muted and her camera's
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, Debbie. We're excited for you. Keep your eye on your email inbox. All right. And one last one, the grand prize drawing for $100 gift card swag goes to Melissa.
The winner is Tyler Davis.
Tyler Davis. Woo, 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 woo. Yay. Awesome. Is Tyler here? No, she already told me she wasn't going to be here. Oh, well, I wish I could have seen you. I know you would have jumped around and did a little jiggy dance or something for us. So, congratulations to all the lucky winners. So excited to have all of you for being here today on this Saturday. Really excited that you came, shared. Please continue to share your journey in the groups. I love pictures of seeing, the lines, how you're doing, or a picture holding up Lean in 12, or just what discoveries you've had about it, if it's changed anything for you on your health journey. That just really, it's what keeps me going. So thank you, ladies. And I wish you all a wonderful, happy Mother's Day. And thanks for being a part of I Kick Sugar. Goodbye, ladies. Have a great day. Happy weekend.
Bye. Happy Mother's
Bye.
Day.
Bye.